Greetings. My name is Saloni Kaul, and I'm the founder and CEO of Its People, an HR business consulting firm. So, the YouTube playlist on performance management brought to you by HR Success Talk. Continuing with it, today we are going to discuss the bell curve appraisal method. So, what really is the bell curve appraisal method? So, there are various types of appraisal systems that different organizations use. But when an organization wants to link the performance of the employee directly with the reward, that's where generally the bell curve appraisal system is used. And in this system, the employees are categorized based on the ranking that is given to their performance. And since the normal distribution curve, also known as the bell curve because it looks like a bell, this performance appraisal is also called the bell curve performance appraisal system. So, what really is the bell curve and how does it look like? As you can see from the picture on the visual, the performance appraisal system categorizes employees in majorly three categories. Number one, the top performer, then the average performer, and then the low performer employees based on their performance. So the bell curve performance appraisal system provides a systematic way to identify the star performers, the ones who are doing great, and then to link their performance with appropriate reward. It also helps the HR to identify who are the people who are average performers and link their reward to moderate raises. And then those who are low performing employees, how do we help them further improve their performance? The bell curve performance appraisal system is based on the fact that the star performers are limited and only a small number of people can perform above the organization's standard expectation, which means that the rest of the employees are then going to either feature in the average performers or in the poor performers. This performance appraisal system also aids in identifying, like we said before, the weakest link and then allowing HR to take those talent decisions based on the results. Let's look at the procedure for implementing the bell curve appraisal system. So, number one, we need to look at the pattern. Now, the approach is to identify the weaker links in this organization. This is what the process objective is, okay, which allows HR to make talent decisions based on the findings. So, since the distribution of organizational talent is believed to be normal, which means in statistical terms that the number of employees on each side of the curve is going to be equal. And since we know that only a small percentage of people are going to be high performers, which indicates that the majority of the employees lie somewhere in the middle, or a small percentage would then be in the slower category, which is the poor performance category. So when the bell curve is used, it signifies that employees follow the pattern and fall into one of the two other categories, which is average or poor performance. So that's the first thing that we need to consider here. The second is restricted ranking. So a lot of limitations are applied to the ratings of any employee whenever the bell curve is applied. So most of the cases, 1 out of every 10 employees will receive the lowest possible ranking, and very few employees will also get the highest possible rating. In larger companies, the bell curve is mostly used at the divisional level, which means that the employees who are working in a team eventually compete against each other for the top performer position. Let's look at the third aspect, which is set standards. So make sure that people and employees actually understand what is expected of them. The standards are properly conveyed to them so that they know exactly where they stand when it comes to using the bell curve performance appraisal system. For example, the sales force can be ranked based on the revenue generated, while a relationship manager can be judged or evaluated based on the client assessment. Now, if the company ranks their employees based on multiple areas, then the main ranking of the bell curve is used by aggregating the numbers. It does help the HR to know where the employees fall short so that improvement plans can be accordingly designed. So, those are the three aspects to help any organization implement the bell curve system. Okay, let's look at how it is used. So, bell curve appraisal uses the compiling method in order to conclude on performance appraisal scores and then generate a relevant report. The compiled scores are plotted on a graph which is shaped like a bell, and here the best performing employees are marked over the top part of the bell, while the average is marked in the middle and the lower performing is put at the last part of the bell. So most generally, it is observed that the bell curve places employees on various levels of performance, just like we looked at the previous picture. So the top performers, you will find 20%. The middle 70 will be mostly of average or satisfactory performers. And then the bottom 10 would mostly be non-performers. What would be the few advantages of bell curve? So number one, top performers can be easily identified. Strict and lenient ratings of manager can also be managed, because we did look at in the previous video about how some of the recency and halo effects can actually get in the way of real ratings. Third, the suitability of the employee for a particular job can also be identified. And lastly, training needs can be managed. So these are certain few advantages of using the bell curve. Let's look at the disadvantages. So the disadvantages, the system is too rigid because it is set in a certain way. And then if there are more performers, like high performers, and we are the department or the division is supposed to then fit them into the bell curve, then it is very possible that some of the great performers would lie in the middle and some of the few performers would lie in the top performer category. So the system is rigid and it may not accurately depict whether one's performance is, average or top performance. Number two, because of this very reason, that when high performers who could be achieving as much as 90 and above percentile, but because they could not, the number of people who were top performers were more in number and could not be accommodated in the 20% top performer category, then some of them would then shift into the middle category, which is the average category. So one would see, a drop in the morale of the employees. Why? Because even though they were performing well, they actually were not featuring in the top performers. They were featuring in the second category, which is the average performers category. And then the last one, this kind of appraisal system is not suitable for small employees, because when the numbers are small and you want to rank them, then typically everyone will, either be, mostly will fall in the middle category, which is average performance. And mostly in smaller organizations, you'll have people who are high on energy and working and contributing, because a small organization, you'll have multiple people doing multitasking and actually putting in great efforts and contributing towards the growth of the company. So it's not suitable for small companies, because then there would be high loss of morale of employees, as the system is too rigid and one can't really then actually or accurately depict the performance of the employee. And especially when we are trying to link it to the reward system, it would not work out well the way an organization wants to. So for large organizations, it's better that yes, they can use it. Nowadays, of course, many organizations have moved away from the bell curve. They do not use it, just because they do want to make sure that the real employees who are, performing great, they do not get disadvantaged, because following the bell curve means that some of the employees who are great performers will get relegated to the middle section, which is of average performance. So with this, there's a disclaimer here, of course, that one must note that this is an overview of the bell curve. Appraisal policies do differ from company to company. Many organizations might use the bell curve, but they may also use many other techniques to make sure that they're rewarding their people, appropriately, so that great performance does get rewarded and acknowledged and promoted, so that these people can take on bigger and larger responsibilities at work. So I hope this was useful. Thank you for being an attentive audience. If there are any questions, please leave them in the comment box so that we can get back to you. Thank you.